She won most talkative in high school, and she has been running her mouth ever since. Welcome to the Lisa Fischer Said Podcast with your host, Lisa Fischer.
Okay, I can tell you that I've never had a grateful recovering alcoholic anywhere in my path, but that's kind of your moniker, isn't it?
You know, it is. I am
good.
a grateful recovering alcoholic, and my life is so good. It's hard for me to believe some days it's mine.
Isn't that a great perspective? That is what I see one of a social media account I follow, Ben Azadi, always talks about vitamin G. And he says, with gratefulness, our perspective on life is so much better. And though I would say recovery probably was a bumpy road for you, how long have you been sober now?
Oh gosh, I've been around the rooms of recovery since 1987, and there's been some bumps along the road.
Yeah.
That's when I was first introduced to the world of recovery and the 12 steps as a path for actually achieving real happiness and gratitude and freedom and joy. And I am on a mission to make sure that people who don't identify as addicts or alcoholics have access to those steps and know how to use them to improve their own lives.
Wow. So you're saying the 12 in your new book, that has it dropped yet? Because I looked online. It looked like it's...
Yeah, it just dropped. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I saw a pre-order for a minute. Okay. The book is The Fix, and it's about how the 12 steps can offer us hope, right?
Yeah. In fact, I think there's a subtitle on the book. My wife likes to say there's more words on the cover than there are inside the book.
I'm not kidding. That subtitle is a doozy.
I know. Well, it's how the 12 steps offer a surprising path of transformation for the well-adjusted, the down and out, and everybody in between.
So that's all of us. That's the entire planet.
That's the whole planet, Lisa. That's everybody.
Okay. Are you inferring that all of us have some type of addiction?
Well, now, Lisa, I'm talking to someone right now whose background contains about 6,000 pairs of shoes.
6,001.
Okay, and I'm beginning to sense a pattern here.
Yes, I would say that I like what I like.
All right, so here's the deal. All human beings carry within themselves pain, distress, discomfort that cries out for soothing, numbing, and so oftentimes human beings look for external solutions to internal problems. And that's like going to the hardware store to buy bread. Mm-hmm. And eventually those external solutions become bigger problems than the problems they were intended to solve.
Wow. I got to think about that. So we really complicate our lives by trying to fix ourselves.
Precisely. And so the 12 steps represent and this is the stated purpose of them, right? They are a spiritual technology, a spiritual program of recovery that helps mend and deepen our relationship with God, with ourselves, and with others, so that we no longer feel the need to turn to counterfeit ways of dealing with internal distress. Right. And internal distress and emotional unmanageability. Have you ever been emotionally unmanageable, Lisa?
I mean, today, the day's still young, but as of last night, I'm sure crying about something. Happy.
So listen, life is difficult. Mm-hmm. And that's an understatement. Life is difficult. Mm-hmm. And so the cause of that difficulty oftentimes is a rupture or a breakage in these relationships with God, self, and others. Mm-hmm. If we can get that stuff straight, then we will not form a relationship with stuff that's bad for us to solve the problems of those broken relationships. So let me put it this way. You know how somebody will say, oh, my brother Bobby, he's got a drinking problem. And I'm like, okay, I get why you're saying that, but here's something. This is a little bit better. Your brother Bobby has a drinking solution, and so and so doesn't have a codependency or a love relationship problem. Love addiction problem. They got a love solution. You see where I'm going?
Yes.
So we have to sort of face the fact that these are just solutions. They're symptoms of a problem, but they are not themselves the problem. You have to look at what the real problem is and then solve that, and all that other stuff becomes unnecessary.
Okay, well, some of the words, the nomenclature of the last few years has been root cause. Dr. Hyman introduced us to that with functional medicine. We hear it now all the time. So you're just looking, instead of a physical root cause of why you might have thyroid disease, you're saying there's a root cause to why, because your brother Bobby drinks too much. Bobby thinks he's helping himself. He's helping himself get through the day by drinking, because that's how he's coping.
That's actually a really good way of putting it, because as a therapist, I oftentimes work with internal family systems. And in internal family systems, we would say that there's a part of Bobby that actually is well-intentioned, that has come up with this solution. It's not a bad part. It's just a good part stuck in a bad role.
Okay.
And that part of Bobby sees a fire in another part of Bobby's life. And it says to itself, because it's usually quite young, that part, hey, you know what? I got to come up with a solution. And I've discovered alcohol, or I've discovered shopping, or I have discovered, sports betting, or I have discovered whatever, food, right? Food addictions, or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to throw it at that problem because I don't want Ian or Bobby to experience that pain, right? So it's almost like it's a well-intentioned part of you that's misguided. All right. And so that's one way of self-understanding how addictions work. But to more specifically to your point, I want people to understand that when we talk about addictions, we're talking about something very complicated. It is not like, we can't ever say the root problem of addiction is this. And I've heard people do that, and it's usually to get clicks. It's really, it's much more complicated than that, right? It's trauma. It is, you have trauma in there, you have family of origin in there, you have genetics in there, you have neurobiology in there, you have so many things all in play at the same time at creating and sustaining an addiction that to say root cause, I would have to say root causes.
All right. That's very fair, because we all know that one thing, because I come from generations of addiction, and one thing that they excelled in was if they removed that addiction, then they got another one.
Oh, yeah.
Another one popped up. So I didn't know at that point. I always thought, because we're fascinated with the brain, that there must be some type of messaging dopamine hit with, because my friend who went through AA told me, he said, well, I said, what'd you learn? Like he got, thrown in to the clink, went to jail. No one bailed him out. And the judge said, you have to go to AA. And it solved that problem. But he said, what I found out among the addicts was they smoke like freight trains. And he goes, and now I drink 12 Diet Cokes a day. Because he said, I replaced the drinking with something else. Well,
now listen, at least it's a step down. But here's the problem. Yeah. When you work a program of recovery carefully, then you will always be vigilantly watching out for how other cross addictions can pop up, and be able to go, oh, no, that's not going to work either. Right. So it is an ongoing program of recovery. It's not something you just do once. It's something that, you know yourself well enough to know that human beings don't just usually have one addiction. They got multiple addictions. Right. And also, as you were just mentioning about the brain, listen, human beings are wired for addiction. I mean, that's just a fact.
Is that right?
You're wired. Are you kidding me? You know that reward system in your brain? Holy smokes.
Yeah, I see it every day whether I get on my device or I'm shopping. You're right. Or any of those things. I totally understand.
And so, you get that dopamine hit and the reward system kicks off. And then the next time you feel distress, your little brain goes, hey, remember that time when you remember that time when you were a workaholic and you just worked 80 hours a week and you couldn't stop? Remember how it kind of made you feel good about yourself and you made lots of money and it bolstered your self-esteem? And can you do that again? And then you do it again, but now you got to do it 90 hours because 80 hours isn't enough. You see where it's going. And it's the same pattern with drinking. It's the same pattern with drugs, same pattern with everything.
But I kind of think too, because, I'm 100 years old. So now that I'm on the backside of this glorious life.
Lisa, you've had some work done. If you're 100 years old, you've had some serious,
well, I've had some laser to be 100. But the point is, part of it too is maturity in the Lord. For me, I became a Christian in college, Jewish by birth. I have a really amazing story. But in all that is, and a radio TV personality, I was wired for dopamine, because you go to the station and they tell you there's a fire down at 12th and Main, and everything is always, when you're in the media or on the radio, whatever, everything was always like 3, 2, 1, and you're on. And so those of us who are wired for that, I love the dopamine hit. But now that I'm kind of in the season of life where we have grandchildren, I'm still married to the same man. Thankfully, he's a great man. I'm having to slow down and start realizing, you know what? I was kind of an addict on those dopamine hits. So my point is, do we age out of the dopamine system? Do we age out of addiction? Do people, as they get older, all of a sudden realize, without going through 12 steps, and we'll talk about the 12 steps, but is there something with maturity in the brain and realizing I might need to simmer down a bit?
Yeah, and in which case I probably wouldn't say it's an addiction, right? Like an addiction, let's just define it. An addiction is any unhealthy, compulsive relationship with a person, a behavior, or a substance that has mood-altering effects and negative consequences.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Listen, first of all, Lisa, everybody love a dopamine hit. There's nobody who doesn't love a dopamine hit. Okay, that's number one.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, everybody likes a dopamine hit, whether it comes from a chocolate donut or from, a 911 call. Okay, right. Well, the 911 call is not a pleasant dopamine hit.
Right.
But
I understand.
My point is that if it doesn't, if you can't stop it on your own unaided willpower, and it has negative consequences, but you keep going at it, then that's a red flag that you have a problem on your hands. Now, for example, Lisa, let's just say that your job and your work became so obsessive about it that it began, and because it was, number one, pleasurable, you're running around, your dopamine hits, it's exciting, all this stuff, but it also bolsters your self-esteem. It distracts you from other things in your life that need your attention. And it has negative consequences. You lose your marriage. Your kids never see enough of you. You can't stop.
Wow.
Well, then we're talking about being a workaholic, right? That's an addiction. And when you stop doing it, you feel lost, depressed, anxious, don't know who you are anymore. That's called withdrawal.
Wow. Even from working all the time.
Oh, listen, I work with guys. I have 4 or 5 coaching clients. They're like in private equity. They're baseball team owners. They're big, they're merger and acquisition people from investment banks. And they'll tell me, like, I got so addicted to the adrenaline of the deal, to crushing it, to being the big man on campus. And when it was taken away from me, I didn't know who I was. And I became depressed. I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. I said, look, dude, that's normal. You're an addict and you're literally in withdrawal and need a program of recovery. So listen, addiction takes a lot of forms. It's got a lot of masks.
So with the mergers and acquisitions guy, big man, the BMOC, ego is the root cause, right?
Yeah, it's the root cause for all of us.
Oh,
it's a root cause of many.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it goes to being a spiritual program. So just to be clear, the 12 steps are not a self-help program. I oftentimes tell people, guess what? If yourself could have helped yourself, wouldn't yourself have done it already?
Right. We're past that.
In fact, my sponsor always once said to me early on in my recovery, he's from East Tennessee, man. Funny guy. And he goes, Ian, we are well past any conversation about you fixing you.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
The point of the 12 steps is to have a spiritual awakening, to facilitate a spiritual awakening of sufficient force and magnitude that it renders unnecessary all your addictive behaviors. Because now you have a relationship with God that addresses the core problems So that now alcohol, spending, relationships, and codependency, all that stuff, you don't even need it anymore because you have solved the problem spiritually.
So codependency can be corrected then? Because it always seems like you'll hear somebody say, well, he was in a codependent relationship. And it's like those things linger on forever. I've never thought about them going to a 12-step program.
Yeah, it's called Al-Anon.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So Al-Anon is the sister program of AA, NA, OA, all the different A's but specifically in that instance too, for spouses, children, different things of alcoholics or drug addicts. And my wife is a ninja Al-Anon member.
Awesome.
And just learning how to have boundaries, learning to have your self-esteem come from inside, not outside through a relationship. It's not needing to be controlling or manipulating other people anymore, feeling responsible for everybody else's feelings and outcomes. That's a terrible way to live. And that's called being addicted to another person, right?
Even though you hate the feeling that they're not doing right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
But listen, you got to stay inside your own hula hoop. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just imagine everybody's got a hula hoop. That's called their life. Stay in your own hula hoop, right? Like stand inside your own hula hoop, not somebody else's. And so what happens is that your whole identity, like I see parents, and it's often moms, but I see dads too. They get enmeshed and entangled and addicted to their children. Their whole self-esteem depends on how their kids perform in the world. And they can be controlling helicopter parents that are just all up in even their adult children's business, right? And I'm like, that's called an addiction.
Wow.
Right? It is an addiction. That codependency is an addiction.
Well, it doesn't end well. I mean, you can't control your kids. I mean, it
always ends in tears. And the message of that program is, guess what? Give up believing that you have any power or control over people, places, or things.
You don't.
Nope.
When did you start realizing that? So if you went through recovery, I guess that was before you had children and maybe married and all that.
Yeah.
So then your lenses were clear as you raised children and raised kids and had a family. I mean, you could see that there was a warning light if you were going to get too deep into handling their lives, which addiction teaches you that there were no boundaries.
Well, listen, addiction is a great teacher.
Oh, right? For sure.
It's a great teacher. And that's another reason to say I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic, right?
Okay.
Like I know things about life, as do my brothers and sisters in programs of recovery, that other people can't know because they just haven't seen the bottom of the barrel, right? And so I look back and I go, holy smoke. And now I'm outfitted to do stuff that other people aren't outfitted to do because they haven't been where I've been. So yes, I had some advantages as a parent, but I can tell you as the parent of a recovering person that I've made a lot of the same mistakes other people have made. I just had access to tools that other people don't know about to deal well with those situations. Right. And we were outfitted a little bit better to kind of deal with the crisis when
maybe
it came
on the
along.
front end. Yeah. But there's still choices that your child had to make, you had to make. So I think one of the greatest fears we all have as parents, and I've heard Ian Morgan say it in her comedy, we all say it, I just don't want my kids to make the mistakes I made.
Good luck.
You were right. You were watching it, especially as your child went through the steps of recovery and you lived to tell.
Yeah, but here's the deal, Lisa. I understand the sentiment behind what Leanne said there, right? I don't want my kids to make the same mistakes I did. But here's the deal. Like they're gonna make mistakes you didn't make. Right. Like they're going to make.
You may never know about them, thank God.
Yeah,
I don't want to know.
Or you are, and you just I think the role of a parent isn't to prevent your kids from making mistakes. I think that actually can cause harm.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually teaching your kids how to deal with their mistakes. It isn't to say, I don't want my kid to get hurt. It's like, guess what? Your kid's going to get hurt. Teach them how to suffer well. Don't be so naive as to think you can protect them from all that. And if you did protect them from all that, you're actually making them infants for life.
Yeah. As we know, suffering and failure are the two greatest teachers we have.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
no one signs up for that. We sign up for the beautiful wedding at the White Lotus Resort, not the one in Thailand, because it doesn't end well. That was something. Okay. We don't talk about pop culture, but, so with the 12 steps, and that's kind of what the book is, the fix is about. So tell me how this can apply for somebody who doesn't have any addiction, doesn't feel like he or she needs to. So the first step is recognizing you're a blank. So for the person who isn't an alcoholic or a drug addict or a sex addict, what are they recognizing?
Well, listen, everybody's got something, right? Everybody got something.
I know that, but they don't know that.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I go to all kinds of places. I've spoken in lots of places about this book. And when I say to people, look, everybody, there's not a person in this room who doesn't have an addiction of some kind or another. And I've never had somebody.
That's a big statement.
I've never had anybody argue with me.
Is that right?
And in fact, I get a room of people nodding their heads like, yeah.
Because they know there's something.
Yeah. Now, some people are on the severe end of the addiction continuum, and others are on the more mild end of the addiction continuum. But it doesn't really matter. Both diminish you at some level, right? But all right, but let's just pretend for a moment that there is somebody out there like Jesus who has no addictions, okay? And because that's the only one I know about that doesn't. So here's the deal. Well, let's just say you are, okay? Or you don't have addictions of that are sufficiently problematic, right?
Right, aren't harming you or those around you.
They are in a way, but okay, whatever.
Okay, yeah.
How about if you just want to live a happier, better, more joyful, integrated life, right? Where you're at peace with yourself and with others and with God and everything's humming along. Do you want that life? Well, the answer is try the 12 steps, because that's what they will produce in you.
Huh. So because as you talked about, it's a spiritual basis for that. So as Christians, that's easy, because one of the steps, the higher power, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's for anybody in any faith realm. But what about the person who's listening that is agnostic, has no faith either way? How do they navigate that?
Yeah, well, actually, I know a lot of people in the programs, in all kinds of programs for recovery, who would describe themselves as agnostics. It's interesting. The 12 steps derive from a Christian organization. So it has Christian roots, right, in the 1930s. But Bill W., who wrote them, took the 6 steps of that organization, expanded them out to 12. And then rather than saying Jesus in there, he said a power greater than yourself, all right, or as God as you understand him. Why? Because he wanted the benefits of the 12 steps to extend to Muslims and Jews and Hindus and like everybody, right? Because alcoholism and addictions aren't just for, people of one faith. So I appreciate his graciousness in wanting to open the aperture for everybody. Now, it's God. So, like, for example, what does it say in step 1, right? Like, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, blank, fill in your fixed choice, that our lives have become unmanageable. And then in step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Here it comes, as we understood him. Mm-hmm. So I've got friends of mine, and early in their journey, their higher power was nature. I have had other friends who say it's the power of the community, of the group. Some people say it's, my higher power is, the great light within. You get to choose what that power is. The only rule is it can't be you, because you
are the problem.
You got here.
You're right.
You got you here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so it just can't be you.
Okay, I've got it. Do you mind if we switch and do some talk on Enneagram? Because you have expertise in both.
Sure.
Because your podcast, the Typology podcast. I will often, the reason I love the use of the Enneagram is not obviously to judge people, but to measure them, to see, because I think you would probably notice by my energy enthusiasm, I am a type 7.
Oh yeah, that wasn't hard to guess.
Right. I figured. And I know a little of me can go a long way. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So when I meet ones, I dial it back a little bit. And not, again, because someone said, well, you're judging them. I go, no, I'm judging them. I said, I'm really, it's a profiling system so I can help communicate because I've been in the media so long and I'm a health coach. Obviously, my clients aren't all 7s having a wacky time with me. A lot of them are 1s and want rules written down. And that's where I go, give me just a minute. So I love the use of it in that respect. But I just heard someone say the other day, they go, I was listening to so-and-so, and she said, it's of the devil, and it's like a horoscope and all that. And I go, how did we get to that? I'm not predicting your future. I'm just saying I understand you better if I know that you're a 1 or a 6 or a 9 or whatever. Because 7s and 8s, I can work. I mean, I'm married to an 8 with the 7 wings, so we mesh very well. But the rest of you are scared of us.
Yeah, that's a dangerous combo right there, potentially. Anyway, the point I was going to make was, listen, I've heard this critique before too, right? And I've only heard it recently. And it's so funny because some of the leading, most respected teachers and authors in the faith-based realm love the Enneagram. But just recently, there's kind of a fringy group. Yeah. And the problem with that fringy group is they have platforms and they make a lot of noise and they like to lob overstatements and grenades at stuff that's popular, because it gets, I always say some of those people are like North Korea, if they feel ignored, they start shooting missiles over the Pacific. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so look, they'll say, here's the critique I often hear. Well, it didn't, it came out there from this group or that group and it was this and it was that. Well, first of all, they haven't done the research usually, but that's okay.
Okay.
I say to them, all right, let's just say it's true, right? The Enneagram has passed through many hands. All right. Okay. Granted. And then I say to them, do you go to counseling? And they go, well, yes, I've been to counseling. I said, do you know what the fathers of modern psychology thought about religion? About your particular faith? Do you know what Sigmund Freud and others felt about Christianity? They said it was a pathology, that it was actually a disease. That faith, they were atheists. And they actually they spoke out loud about their disdain for faith. And yet, Christians, these very Christians, go to counseling and use words like unconscious and subconscious and all these words that came from Freud.
Right.
And I go, so if you want to critique the Enneagram on the basis of its origins, you need to stop going to counseling and get consistent in your views.
Ouch. Okay.
Or I'll say, do you go to yoga?
Oh.
And they'll be like, well, I do go. Do you know where that comes from?
Right.
So here's the thing. Does it have a kind of a spotty history? And most of it's kind of like, a lot of it we don't even know.
Well, man-made. It's not divine. So right. Of course it has a spotty. Of course. We all have a spotty history.
Right. So I just tell them, can't we redeem something that's true and use it to good purpose? And like we do with counseling and exercise like yoga, and claim it for ourselves. That's called seeing common grace. That even people outside of the faith can come up with really good ideas.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and we can import those ideas and use them to good purpose.
What a great way to introduce somebody to your faith, your interest, your spiritual interest. Yeah. Because another person told me she didn't want to do it because it was a Christian program. Was it founded that way?
So it does have some Christian roots. And it was used by, for example, the Catholic Church used it. It continues to use it a lot when training new priests.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, and other organizations.
Wait, I can tell you this. I can go out on a limb and say there are no 7 priests. Just going to go ahead and say it.
You think that's true?
Because we're all about fun.
I've met some pretty crazy Jesuits along the line.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Good. I would love to be corrected.
Yeah. Anyhow, my point is, right, like with those people, I'm like, look, I can't convince you. And some people just love themselves a good conspiracy theory. Like the Enneagram comes from the devil. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So move on, go find something else. I'm not saying you can have a perfectly happy life without knowing the Enneagram. Go have it. And then leave me alone.
So with that perspective, I don't think I can type you. Are you a 6?
I'm a 4.
A 4. You're woo-woo in there. That's what I call my 4 daughter.
Yeah, I mean, Well, it depends on what kind of four, because there's when you get deep into the Enneagram, you realize, oh, there's variations on types, right?
Yeah.
So, like for me, I used to test on Enneagram assessments as a 3 or a 7 a lot, and that's because I'm what's called yes, and so that's what's called a self-preservation 4. That they often look like 3s or 7s, but then there's another 4 that looks nothing like that. That's called a social 4. And the social 4 sounds more like your daughter. Now, they tend to be a little bit more melancholy, artsy. They tend to wear their suffering on their sleeve a little more than a self-pres 4. I tend to hide suffering more than I do, announce it to other people.
Yeah.
And so, the thing I love about the Enneagram is it reveals there are these 9 personality styles. There's an infinite number of expressions of each. But they all have some commonalities. Once you learn your own and you learn those of other people, you can move through the world with a lot more intelligence and wisdom and kindness and love, compassion, appreciation for people's differences. And you can learn to have that all important virtue of self-awareness.
Self-awareness is so important. I would say I think that's marriage. Well, I mean, the Bible talks about it. It's a mirror, it is reflected things, but self-awareness is one thing that I think as we age that we could all benefit from.
Well, yeah. And let's define it, right? So for our purposes, we could say that self-awareness is just the ability to step back from your moment to moment experience, armed with self-knowledge, and observe your predictable habitual patterns of acting, thinking, and feeling, and you're able in the moment to see how your personality is landing on another person so that you can dial it in correctly, right? And you're able to observe another person and say, this is their pattern of predictable, habitual acting, thinking, and feeling. How can I love them in this moment? That's how a good marriage will work, right? That's how self-awareness works in the context of a marriage.
And relationships. I mean, any relationship, working at the grocery store. So would those people who are reticent or kind of disregarding the Enneagram, are they doing the same thing with Myers-Briggs, which isn't that 16 different types in that one?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what other things that they're, there's DISC, there's Strengths Finders, there's That's Myers-Briggs, there's the Berkman, there's so many different sort of models of personality out there. I'm not a huge fan of the Myers-Briggs, but I'm in favor of every... What's that?
Why not? That's kind of, I helped a Christian psychiatrist years ago with some it wasn't social media then. I did something called a newsletter because, it was back in the 1900s. And I did some publicity for it all. And that was something she was an MD, but she loved the Myers-Briggs. But that's all we had then. It was the 80s.
Yeah. Listen, if that's what you love and if that's what's helping you, I don't have any problem with it. I'm just saying, as a therapist, it sort of stands on. First of all, I think it's difficult. It's not easily accessible or actionable. I'm an ENFP. I still don't know what the hell that means.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, and I went to graduate school and studied it there. I still can't figure out all INTP
I know.
and whatever
it is hard. You're right.
Whereas the Enneagram is pretty simple to get your hands around.
It is.
Now, it's not easy to master, but it's easy to learn. And if you just know the basics, it's gonna move a needle in a positive direction. But if you really want to get juicy stuff out of it, go all the way down the hole. And it's going to take you a few years to really understand it. But Myers-Briggs, if it helps, fantastic, great, go for it.
Well, last week when Sissy Goff, who is a Little Rock native, was speaking at this event, she said, now I'm going to tell you something I use in my practice. And she goes, we use the Enneagram. She said, because there are 9 types. And she said, the Myers-Briggs has 16. And she goes, and 9's just easier for me to work with. And so I thought that's a way to simplify it, to understand it.
That could be one reason of many. And look, it's not a perfect system, right? What the Enneagram gives you is a low definition picture of the inner world.
A low definition. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so now, but here's the deal. Most people have they're just operating with no picture, right? So getting a low definition picture of your own internal ways of operating and those of others, that's a gigantic step forward, right? That is no small thing.
Yeah.
And that low definition picture can give you some really helpful ways of being in the world and relating to other people.
But do you think women are more apt to buy into this because we're so relational and men aren't?
It's interesting. Typology, the podcast I have about the Enneagram, we're well over, I don't know how many, 20 million, 23 million downloads.
Wow.
That audience is predominantly women. But that said, I do so much stuff with men. There are men who are interested. I mean, women, they do tend to, in my experience, have more interest in their inner worlds than men, and which is a compliment.
For sure.
Sometimes guys won't start that journey of looking inward until they've hit a few walls, right? And I don't know if women are more naturally that way, but I suppose I would say that based on my audience, who's in it, and who buys my books and things like that, it's pretty clear that women are the majority.
And then she's going to tell the man in her life, "You're
That's right.
so-and-so."
She's going to go fix somebody because she's addicted to that relationship.
Well, see, that's it. I'm married to an 8. There ain't no touching him, fixing him. He's got himself all figured out. He, that's why in the beginning, when I first started doing this, I think I probably took the test for him, because I was sitting beside him or something. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know if I need that." Then when he started hearing about it and understanding, because he's a manager, he's in medical sales for 100 years and he manages people, then it made sense in the same perspective I have of how to manage his new reps. If she's he's got a 2 right now, that Memphis girl that, man, she's going to have a baby, cough, pop the baby out, and she'll be back in the doctor's office probably within 24 hours because she has a 3 wing. She may be a 3-2, 2-3. She is probably a 3-2, but it makes help him understand. So I think that's a good thing that women might be. That's why women are so marketed to, women 25-54. I knew that in radio and TV, who we were sending our message to, because that's who at the time was pulling the trigger of buy now. Now we know men also have their own devices and they too will put buy now, but women are the ones who probably jump forward and say, "I'll do it." Now, in the beginning, when I first started hearing about Enneagram, probably in 2017 or so, someone told me to take the free tests. Well, I don't think there are free tests because I think they chase you down with 1,000 emails and it's not worth it. What's your favorite tool? And I know you have one on your website, but for anybody listening that might be a little expensive, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing.
The testing tool.
The testing tool. So here's the deal. Like, not all of them are created equal, as you know. To create one, like, I'll just give you an example. The test that I have on my website, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with a research psychologist and a team.
Oh, wow.
Putting that test together so that it would be reliable and valid. Putting tests together is an art. These are PhDs in something called psychometrics, right? And so you go in Vogue magazine and start taking your Enneagram quiz to figure out if you're a golden retriever or a pug. You're going to get what you pay for, right? Which is a bad result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to get mistyped. You're going to get literally, you're going to get crappy insights into yourself. And so you're going to get what you pay for there. So I have what's called the Typology Institute Enneagram Assessment. It's available on my website, Ian Morgan Cron, CRON.com. You mentioned the price point. It's $120. Sometimes it's $90, depending on what's happening in the yearly season. Because I work with a lot of corporations, the price point is a little bit higher, and also because of how much it cost me to build it. Right?
I believe it now. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. How much is a therapy session?
Oh, it's more than that. I can tell you that.
175 probably at the bottom end.
200. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you start getting up to PhDs and psychiatrists, you could be talking 400 per psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the point is, I promise you will get insights from $120 that would take you 6 months of therapy to get. Like, in other words,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I'm about to save you money.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that.
Right?
Now we need to get somebody, since Capitol Hill is getting all the attention, somebody to get insurance companies. And maybe it does allow your health savings dollars, something to help accommodate or alleviate that cost for somebody. I mean, it's just a thought.
Or what you could do is, if you're a manager like your husband is get your whole team to take the test and have the company pick it up. That's what happens. Now, I've worked with Google. I've worked with Discovery Channel. I've worked with, lots and lots of big corporations, Chick-fil-A, on and on. And they provide resources for personal development, and many of their folks take advantage of my test. And then sometimes I go into the companies and I work with their teams for a day.
Oh, wow. What a treat. There's a highway interstate between Little Rock and Nashville. We could get you here in no time. And again, Enneagram 7, I say I'm a dang delight. Weddings, bar mitzvahs, I'm your girl.
Come on. I'm all for it.
I will say one thing that I think is funny, that when we were starting to do Enneagram, and because of my enthusiasm and my energy, and I've been on social media a long time. Again, back in the day, I was on people's radios, TVs. People that don't know much about Enneagram always say to me, "Oh, you're a 3, aren't you?" And I go, "Why?" "Well, I see you every time I open my device, or you have a message." And I go, "Because I'm here for the free Chick-fil-A and the fun. I mean, I'm not here to achieve anything. I have a journalism degree, but I got the bare minimum to go out and have fun." So you can't judge a book by its cover. I mean, we all know that. And that's kind of what the Enneagram, I think, teaches us.
Yes, it does. You definitely can't. I will say this. The Enneagram, next to my faith, has been the most important pool of knowledge that I have had the privilege to use, to understand. I have seen it save marriages. I have seen it bring parents back with estranged children. I have seen it save people's jobs. I have seen it actually accelerate people in their professions. Because we know for a fact from the research that self-awareness is the key predictor of success in business. Like, it is the key predictor, not a predictor, the key predictor. I have seen it do so many good things for people. And it's been a privilege of a lifetime to go to bed at night knowing I actually make a decent living helping people.
That's awesome.
Like, I know it helps.
So that means you do that wing 3, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I got wing 3 all day long. But here's the thing. I have enough self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. So when I am, then that's the gift of the Enneagram. I know that because I have a little bit of 3 in me, quite a bit of 3 in me, that when I'm overworking, I know when I'm feeling depressed and down, it's because I don't have enough goal-directed activities going on in my life. And so I'm able to I'm more, because I know myself as a result of the work I've done with the Enneagram, I know how to govern myself better. I just have better self-leadership skills. And also, I know how to love my wife better, who's a 9. I can see when she's struggling. And when she's struggling, because we have a common language called the Enneagram, I can say, baby, I'm picking this up. Are you doing okay? And she goes, you're right. I didn't see it. It was a blind spot, or I'm not doing well. I just need a hug. Whatever it is, right? I just move through the world with a little bit more information that informs everything that I do. And that's a result of my work with the Enneagram.
Well, good for you. I've got all the information about you in our show notes. The Grateful Recovering Alcoholic has this book out, and if you see any of the reels, you'll see the fixes behind him. Typology is his podcast. Ian, thank you so much for doing this podcast. Great job.
So much fun. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to the Lisa Fischer Said Podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe and download all the episodes and leave a review, won't you? The Lisa Fischer Said Podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.